Hi, I'm Jenny Herbachik, and welcome to this discussion in the therapy module of Cancer Free University, your go-to source for expert information on cancer prevention, detection, and therapy options. Have you ever considered seeking treatment for cancer outside of the United States? I want to reassure you that there are many talented physicians who are achieving life-saving results just over the border. And how about our neighboring country, Mexico? One of those doctors that I want to introduce you to is not afraid of a challenge when it comes to treating the terminally ill, and that's my friend, Dr. Tony Jimenez. He grew up in New Jersey, and then he traveled the world, from Europe to Canada, from China to South America, and then to further his knowledge of complementary medicine. Today, he did all that to further his knowledge of complementary medicine, and he still is working on that today as he's in an active practice dealing with people with cancer. He is the founder and medical director of Hope for Cancer Institute in Tijuana, Mexico, and he recently opened a new clinic in Cancun, Mexico. So I asked him to come here and educate us about two of his very successful treatments that he's using that you may not know about. And those are, the first one is called sonophotodynamic therapy, and the second one is Rigvir therapy. Welcome, Dr. Tony.
Thank you, Jenny, for having me. I'm so excited about sharing all this information with the viewers.
Yeah, and so we're calling you Dr. Tony because that's what your patients call you, correct?
Please do. It's easy to remember.
Yes, Jimenez. I love that. But you're known by Dr. Tony by your patients and so many people around the country. So I understand that this sonophotodynamic therapy is non-invasive, non-toxic, and you're using it to combat cancer cells and reduce the effects of long-term damage that so many therapies do. Can you explain this to us? And isn't it true that you're just one of maybe 3 or 4 places in the world where you can get this therapy?
That's correct. Sonophotodynamic therapy is quite a unique therapy. Most of the viewers may be familiar with photodynamic therapy, which is approved for skin cancers, esophagus, and also stomach cancer. But when we treat other types of cancers that are deeper in the body, that's where the sonophoto component comes in. So basically the principle, Jenny, is that we're going to give the patient a substance that's given under the tongue sublingually. It's absorbed selectively by cancer cells 70 to 1. So for every one normal cell, 70 cancer cells absorb it. We wait 24 to 36 hours to have maximum absorption and penetration in the cancer cell. For some God-given reason, all and any of the normal cells that absorbed it will release it within those 24 to 36 hours. And then starts the fun, which is the killing of the cancer cells.
So, Dr. Tony, do they take this chlorophyll by mouth, or is it a drink, or caplets, or what?
Yes, it's a powder that's administered under the tongue, sublingually. First, we give a loading dose, and the loading dose is the biggest dose, which lasts 2 weeks, and that is based on the patient's weight. After 2 weeks, beginning the 3rd week, then the patients take a maintenance dose every week, and that's 30 milligrams weekly as they continue to do the sono and photodynamic therapy.
Okay, so I want to go back a minute because sono, sound, photo, light. How are these two working together?
Well, that's an excellent question because photodynamic therapy is light, of course, as we know. It emits photons, very healing for the body. The chlorophyll derivative that the patient takes has a spectrum of activity. It's measured in something called spectrophotometry, and that's 440 nanometers, 660 to 680 nanometers, and the near-infrared light spectrum. So when we use the photodynamic therapy, the light, we're giving light in those 3 frequency ranges. And so when that happens, we can activate the sensitizer that was given under the tongue to have the anti-cancer effect. But remember, Jenny, light has a depth of penetration limitation. If we shine a flashlight through a door, obviously you can't see it on the other side, right? But when we're using sonodynamic therapy, this is the incorporation of sound. And if you're on one side of the door and you speak or yell, of course, it could be heard on the other side of the door because sound travels further in space and also in our bodies.
Okay, interesting. So you're combining the two to get that synergistic effect. So I'm trying to paint a picture here for someone who's listening to this. So they're going to come to the clinic. They're going to get their chlorophyll, get that going, get the loading dose. Now what happens? What do they see as the patient?
Well, first of all, we are a medical facility, of course, so it's not just come in and get the sensitizer, as we all know, right? So they're evaluated, a series of tests just to see where they are, and then we start the sonophoto. So basically, we know that most of the tumors or cancers that patients have are deep-seated. They can be in the lungs, they could be in the pancreas, in the stomach, in the colon, in the prostate, in the uterus, in the breast even, but not superficial. So with the sound therapy, we're getting to deeply locating tumors. Whereas with the light therapy, it's more tumors that are superficial. So what the patients are getting, they're getting the sensitizer on a loading dose, and then 24 to 36 hours every day later, 24 to 36 hours later, every day, they will have a treatment with light therapy, photodynamic therapy, and that could last anywhere between 15 minutes and 45 minutes. It depends on the extent of tumors in the body, the tumor load or tumor burden, as we say, and then they get an additional 30 to 45 minutes of sonotherapy on a daily basis as well.
So is the science behind it, is that I guess my question is it the frequency of the sound and I guess also the frequency of the light? Are those causing a problem with the cancer cells, or are they increasing cellular energy? How is it actually working in the body?
So the mechanism of action, right? The sensitizer is absorbed by the cancer cells selectively, as I mentioned.
Right.
But this substance is biochemically, biologically, and physiologically inert. It has no activity on itself. So if you or I take this, it will do nothing. Our body will eventually metabolize it and excrete it.
Right.
So what we need to do is wake it up, activate it. And that's what sound of a specific amplitude, frequency, and light do. And so when this substance is awakened, if you will, then it releases reactive oxygen species, ROS, or minus molecules. And that is what has the cancer-killing effect. And also, it triggers an immune response to the area. So you're getting a dual mechanism of action. You're having direct effect on the cancer cells by the reactive oxygen species, and then you're having an immune response. So it's the best of both worlds.
Right. It sounds like it. So I know most patients, when they come down to do your program, they're there for about 3 weeks. So do they do this every day, or is it how often do they do this?
Every day, Jenny, every day.
Okay.
As I mentioned, the light therapy, anywhere between 15, 45 minutes, and then the sonotherapy up to 45 minutes a day.
Right. And then I was reading on your website about a home program.
Yes, that's very, very important, because whether patients stay 3 weeks, which is typically what they stay, or they prolong their stay and stay longer, it's still a relatively short amount of time to make a significant impact in cancer, because as you know, and our viewers know, to develop cancer can take 10, 15 or more years.
Right,
So 3-4 weeks is an initial aggressive push. So they take home a sonotherapy device and continue doing the sonotherapy at home, as well as the phototherapy. And this is the beauty about this treatment, because as you said initially, it's non-invasive, it's non-toxic. It in itself is not going to produce any side effects because it is non-toxic.
Right. So how does it feel when you're getting the therapy? Is it just really peaceful and you feel relaxed, or?
Yes, you feel relaxed. However, because it's having an impact on the cancer cells in the tumor, there can be some sensations, tingling, sometimes increased pain temporarily, because as you're affecting these tumor cells and they're breaking up, you're going to feel something, right?
Right.
So that's typically, but they're mild symptoms, and they're not really reactions. Like in medicine, and as having a nursing, degree, that we say, oh, did that have a reaction, like a side effect?
Right.
What we call these, Jenny, are responses, right?
Okay.
These are good effects of the treatment doing what it's supposed to do.
Wow. What about as the person starts to heal and they're getting die off of cancer cells? What do you do to support them detoxing and getting all that out of their body?
Very, very important question, because sometimes it's easier to kill a cancer cell than to eliminate it from the body and not overburden the liver and the kidneys. So it's very important to avoid what we call tumor lysis syndrome, right? Too much breaking up of the cancer cells that overwhelm the body's capacity to detoxify. So part of the detoxification is, of course, nutrition, right? And a lot of juicing. We do coffee enemas to help the liver and the gallbladder detox. Colonics are a possibility. Also sweating. We have to remember that the skin is the biggest organ of elimination and absorption.
Right.
So anything that anyone puts on the skin, be very, very careful, because it goes right into the bloodstream. So sweating with near-infrared saunas are excellent forms of detoxing.
Right, but you got to go take a shower right away and get all that, wash those toxins down the drain, hopefully
That's right.
in clean filtered water, right?
Oh, that's another thing, exactly. And now we're kind of resonating more toward hydrogen water, because hydrogen water or hydrogenated water, many studies coming out of Japan and even in the U.S. point to the multiple benefits of hydrogen water as opposed to alkaline water. So, as you said, good, clean, filtered water, and if you could have hydrogenated water, that's even a
Right,
plus.
right. So what have you seen? How are you judging that this therapy is working?
Well, we are medical doctors, of course, so there are conventional tests. Like, you're well versed in all the different types of tests, circulating tumor cells, and so forth. So, but in these 3 weeks, what we do is when the patient arrives and bring their records to us, a lot of them already have PET scans, CAT scans, MRIs, and so
Right.
forth. What we do, Jenny, is we do a high-resolution color ultrasound. So we scan the thyroid, the neck, the axilla. We also look at the breast. We look at all the abdominal organs. We look at the pelvic organs. We look at the groin, the inguinal lymph nodes. So by doing this, we locate where the tumors are, if they're visible by the ultrasound. And very importantly, we look at blood supply, called vascularity. You
Right.
know that one of the key characteristics of cancer is angiogenesis, right? Increased blood supply. So with sonophotodynamic therapy, we in general are decreasing a patient's tumor's blood supply by about 54% within those first 3 weeks.
Wow.
Some patients have less, some have more, but in general it's about 54%. So that's one of the ways of seeing how the patient is responding to the therapy within the first 3 weeks. And of course, lab tests. We don't repeat MRIs or CAT scans because we ask the patients to bring a recent one prior to coming. And the next time that we rescan them with MRIs preferably is in 3 months, because the treatment doesn't stop at the clinic, it continues at home.
Right, for about a year? How long do they do this home program?
Well, as long as they're doing the home program and we're in communication with them, our aftercare program, Jenny, is very solid. For the first 3 months, we call the patients once they leave once a week. Hello, Mr. Smith, how are you? Are you doing your therapies? Any questions? Please schedule another blood test in 2 weeks. So every week, Jenny, for the first 3 months, we're calling them.
Right, right.
In 3 months, they come back for a 2-day follow-up. And we reassess, tweak whatever we need to tweak, look at the new scan, MRI, CAT scan, and then they go back home and continue the home therapy. So we have patients that we're following for years. Just today, a lady, which I could say her name,
We'll call her Betty.
Betty, let's call her Betty.
Okay.
Betty actually is from your home state of Texas, and she's been our patient for at least 6-7 years, and she just had a new MRI today or yesterday, and the oncologist just still, throughout all these years, they can't understand. Even the bone metastasis in T9, the ninth thoracic vertebra, is gone. So she still has a bit of cancer here and there, but things are great. The oncologist just told her in Texas, do whatever you're doing, because it's just amazing that you're still here and in the great quality of life. She's working full time. So Betty is just one example of many.
Right. I want to explain something that you said a few minutes ago, how you're getting about a 54% average reduction in angiogenesis. And for those listening, that means that the blood supply that's feeding that tumor has reduced by that percentage, which means, if you're driving a car and you don't keep the gas tank full, it's not going to go as far. And we don't want those cancers to keep going. So that's really a powerful mechanism if you can cut off that blood supply, and that's pretty incredible to do that in 3 weeks. So when you hear that big word angiogenesis, it just means you're cutting off the blood supply, or it's the blood supply that feeds that tumor. And yes. Dr. Tony's seeing a reduction in that vascularity to that tumor, which is always a target of many therapies for cancer.
Yes, and if I could add a few things, Jenny. Dr. Thomas Siegfried, which we know and love from Boston College, wrote a book, Cancer is a Metabolic Disease.
Right.
And he outlined the 7 hallmarks or characteristics of cancer, and angiogenesis is one of them. So it doesn't matter what tumor it is. All cancer tumors must have increased blood supply, as you said, so they could get nutrients in, but also so they could eliminate waste. Because remember, think of a cancer cell as a bully. So they need to take in a lot of nutrients and they need to eliminate waste. So if we're cutting that blood supply so effectively, they're getting difficulty in removing toxin and also in getting the nutrients they need to progress.
Right. So how did you come across this sonophotodynamic therapy? And obviously it's very powerful, but what made you learn about it? How did it get pushed into your life?
Well, as a Christian and as a believer, I believe that God brought the right people to me. It was 3 gentlemen, one from Harvard, one from Ireland, and one from LA, who had written a book about prostate cancer. And these 3 gentlemen approached me about 13 years ago, and actually at a Cancer Control Society convention in LA. And so we worked together, and we developed initially sonophotodynamic therapy for prostate cancer, because my dad, many years ago, developed prostate cancer. He was in your state as well, in Texas, in Houston, and he was actually one of my first patients. And my dad was 63 at the time, and lived to be over 80, about 82 years of age when he passed of unrelated causes, old age and heart disease. But that was really the start at Hope for Cancer Institute of sonophotodynamic therapy about 13 years ago.
Wow. I'm always so impressed. It's like I feel so blessed to know some of the people that I know, and I include you amongst one of my very special friends that I just have a blessing of being able to know and be able to share all this information with people. Because since I wrote my book, Cancer Free, Are You Sure? I get people contact me from all over the country. I'll get emails, and people are hurting. And I know that it was never our Creator's intention. It was never God's idea for us to have cancer. We've just gotten so toxic. And I love the fact that you're using something that is part of nature and creation, sound and light and frequency, to combat this cancer. Because, like you said, with the mitochondria, we know that these cells have low energy. And so we've got to repair that frequency. And there's so many things that we're putting into our bodies that have frequencies that I think just drag us down, even just all the EMFs around us. So I really love this therapy, just the basic science behind it, because it's not toxic, and it's just healing, and it's trying to put us back to where we were.
And that's so true, because sonophotodynamic therapy has a lot of science behind it. If anyone wants to go to PubMed or Google, they'll find hundreds of references from all over the world on sono and photodynamic therapy.
Right, and you're combining it, and it's really not, you're not that far. You're, what, 20 minutes across the border. And someday I hope that you could pick up your clinic and bring it over here. And I think maybe the day's coming at some point where we will, in the United States, accept all of these healing therapies. But for right now, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, so don't stop.
Okay, Lord willing, right?
Yes, don't stop.
Yes.
So our next topic is your Rigvir, which is an antiviral therapy. Why don't you tell us how you first found out about that and exactly what it is?
Okay. I'd like to define it not as an antiviral therapy, Jenny, but as an oncolytic viral therapy.
Okay.
So Rigvir is actually a live virus, and this comes from the Eastern Europe in a country called Latvia. The capital is Riga, and these people that belong to the Soviet Union have been working on viral therapy for years, since the 60s. So they isolated one virus. It's an ECO7 enterovirus, and what this means, entero means the gastric intestinal system. So this virus actually is found in the healthy gut, in the healthy small intestine of children between the ages of 7 and 11. So again, Jenny, this is a God-made therapy.
Right.
No one is creating this virus or modifying it or re-engineering it. It's just isolating it, and it's a God virus. So viral therapy, this is here to stay. There's a lot of work, a lot of research being done throughout the world on viral therapy. Unfortunately, all those others are geared at genetically modified, bioengineered viruses that, the toxic effects could be significant.
So what's the mechanism of action with the virus?
Yes, there's two. One we call oncotropism. Onco meaning cancer, tropism meaning migration towards, selectivity towards. So this virus migrates selectively towards cancer cells, leaving normal cells alone. As viruses do, it penetrates the cancer cells. More viruses are replicated or produced inside the cancer cell, and then that cell ultimately bursts. And that's called oncotropism, and the effect is called oncolysis, or breaking up of the cancer cell. So that's one mechanism. The second one is the immune benefits. There is nothing in the world that I know, and I've been to over 70 countries, if not more, and Rigvir does incredible effort on the immune system. One is it upregulates both arms of the immune system, the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. Secondly, and very importantly, is that Rigvir allows the immune system to see the cancer cells. Because oftentimes, as you know, Jenny, we're giving a lot of immune products, which are great, and we have to have an optimal immune system. But now cancer cells have developed a way to shield themselves or cloak themselves from immune recognition. And the Rigvir binds to these specific sites on cancer cells called CD55 or DAF2, DAF2. And Rigvir virus binds to these receptor sites, and now that exposes the cancer cells, and the immune system can see them.
Right. So if it's a virus, and it's kind of an anti-cancer virus, do people get a temperature? Because when you think of a virus, you think, oh, I don't feel well, I have a little bit of a fever. Do you see any of those effects?
Well, I could tell you from personal experience, because I use the Rigvir viral therapy not for cancer, thank goodness, but for an immune,
stimulant.
Yeah, immune. But so again, these are not side effects; these are responses. Some patients do have a mild febrile, not even a fever; it's a febrile response. Maybe 98.6 is normal; they get 99 or 91.1. We don't have to medicate. I get a little sleepy when I get the injection, so I take it at night. Some patients have a couple of loose bowel movements. I haven't figured out why that happened. Maybe it's the body's knowledge, right? That, hey, I got to get rid of stuff. and let the virus do what it's going to do. But that's basically it.
Okay. So is the virus, it's a shot that you like get in your arm?
Yes, it's a shot in the arm or in the buttock, and there is a rotational protocol where, depending where the cancer is, we start either in the right arm, right or left buttock, and then we do a rotational program of administration. So initially we give 3 injections in a row, let's say day 1, day 2, day 3, and then 1 a week for 14 total injections. And that completes a 3-month cycle. And then that's when we reevaluate, see where the patient is at, and then most patients continue with an injection every 2, 3, or 4 weeks. So the longer you're on Rigvir viral therapy, the more spread out the injections are.
I see.
For example, we have some patients who are getting an injection every 3 or 4 months now instead of on a weekly basis.
Right. So can you get this? Where else can you get this? Do they need to come see you to get this?
Yes. Right now, there are 4 countries in the world that are registered and approved to use Rigvir viral therapy. One is, of course, Latvia, where it was developed. Second one is Georgia, a country in the Baltic area. And Armenia is the 3rd country. And then Mexico is the 4th. So patients do have to come to Mexico to get the viral therapy. And then because as a U.S. citizen, resident, even in Canada, you're allowed to go anywhere in the world and get a treatment for yourself for up to 3 months and legally bring it back home with you to continue it.
Okay. So when people come to your clinic, or one of the 2 clinics now, are both of these part of the overall program that you do for people that come in with cancer, or would you suggest one or the other or both?
Yes, we evaluate every patient individually, of course. The only cancers we don't use Rigvir for are lymphomas, because literally it overwhelms the lymphatic system, and that's a criteria of exclusion, as we say. So lymphomas, no Rigvir. Sonophotodynamic therapy we don't use in soft tumors. We call that leukemias, for example. Any blood type cancers, we do not use sonophotodynamic therapy for, nor in brain tumors. So depending on the type of cancer, that's the combination of treatments we use on the patients. And remember one thing, Jenny, and everyone that's listening to this, cancer is a multifactorial disease with, as I mentioned before, 7, 8, 9 characteristics. So it's always about the integration of multiple modalities that is going to give the patients the better long-term benefits. And keeping in mind that unfortunately 86% of the patients that come to us have been told there's nothing else to do, go home, and that's it. And so we really have to focus on the sonophoto, the Rigvir, nutrition, detox, the emotional component, which is so powerful. And this is what we call the 7 key principles to cancer therapy.
Right. I've seen your graphic that you have, and you really have put together a beautiful program that looks at body, mind, and spirit.
Yes.
I want to ask you, because you were trained as a conventional physician, what made you make the switch over to these more healing, immune-building therapies?
It's interesting because it goes way back when I was about 10, 11 years of age, when my mom used to take me to the doctor every month because she said I was too thin. And, a Colombian mom wants her son to be chubby and so forth. So, of course, that never worked, getting a B complex shot every month. But one day I was really sick. My mom took me to the doctor. The attending wasn't there, but another doctor took care of me. And he gave me a prescription, and all I remember is that it had 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I looked at it and I said, I'm not that sick. So I asked the doctor, what are these for? And he said, they are for what you have, so take them, and walked away. I followed him because I wasn't happy with that answer. Right? So I tugged on his lab coat again, and I say, hey, doctor, please tell me what these are for. He said, I already told you, so take them. So I looked back on my mom, I ripped up the prescription, and I told her, Mom, take me home, give me chicken soup or something. And then I thought to myself, when I'm a doctor, I'm not going to be like this guy. The communication and the education is so important for patients, right? And And then, of course, it was with my dad, as I said earlier, developed prostate cancer. He was in Houston, and I knew I had to do more because he just couldn't handle the hormone therapy that he had started,
Right.
the Lupron. And then there's, as an intern, even when I was an intern, I saw that a lot of patients were given a medication, as you know, Jenny, and then you have to give another medication for the side effects of that medication.
Right.
And by the time it's over, they're taking 5, 10, or even more medications. So I knew that if we attend to God's body that has an innate ability to heal with nutrition and many other things, that we can make good progress, give patients better quality of life, and have long-term successes.
Wow, what a wise little boy you were. It started back when you were a child. Okay, I've heard you say that you usually see patients when they're in the 9th inning and things are looking quite desperate, meaning that you get the rejects, patients who have failed therapy, many from the U.S., and this makes your mountain so high to climb. What can you say to get to people to reach them so that they might reach out for help sooner and they come to your door before they're in the 9th inning?
Yes, that's been what you and I have worked so hard, and others, right, to give patients and people information, to educate them. And I'm so happy what you're doing at Cancer University, part of the Vitality Network, because education is key. We need to educate. We need to have more and more people know that there are options, right? You didn't get cancer because of lack of chemotherapy or radiation.
Right.
Something that broke down. So we need to go to the core values and core issues of the regulation of the body. Oftentimes in medicine, Jenny, we use the word homeostasis. I'd rather use regulation, because a body is really never in homeostasis, but a body is in regulation. So when there's a dysregulatory pattern, then things can happen, like cancer and other chronic diseases. So if the viewers look at our 7 key principles to cancer therapy and focus on this is huge for prevention and huge for treatment as well. So if I could say one thing to those recently diagnosed with cancer is take a deep breath, relax as much as you can, get educated, don't go into that fear mode, and make a decision. And remember also that science and medicine stops, but the Holy Spirit, God guiding you, will give you the answers as to what you should do. So, learn to discern. Some people call it intuition, or, the body telling you what to do. It's so important.
Right. I agree with everything you just said. We just, so many times that fear takes over and people just jump into the first thing that they see or that they believe is true. And I think it's because we're taught to respect authority, and we as children, we were taken to the doctor. But, cancer treatment's come a long way, and we've learned so much about it. So I want to tell people, don't be afraid to learn new things, to reach out and hear the other side of the coin, because there are amazing things happening in cancer, and you can actually be stronger after having a cancer diagnosis than you were before. And I see that with so many people. Dr. Tony, would you take a few minutes and tell us what else encompasses your program down at Hope for Cancer?
Yes, surely. We highly believe in oxygenation and oxygen therapies because, as you know, Otto Warburg and many others, even in the 60s, saw that cancer cells are mainly anaerobic. They thrive in low oxygen environments. So we do hyperbaric oxygen chambers, ozone, not only rectal ozone or rectal insufflation, but we have a device called a cold plasma ozone device that we can literally apply the ozone in the area of the tumor. So let's say the breast cancer tumor, the lymph node, or the neck, or the liver, we could deliver ozone topically to that area, which is huge. So oxygen therapies are a big part. And of course, nutrition, juicing. There's no better way to detoxify the blood than with juicing. And we must remember also about the cancer stem cells, right? They're very powerful in that they're the only cells that can metastasize. They can survive in the bloodstream and in the lymphatic system. So we need those phytochemicals in foods, in juices that can kill those cancer stem cells. Hyperthermia, heat. We know that heat is important in cancer therapies because cancer cells are heat sensitive, whereas normal human cells are heat resistant. That's why when we have a flu, or we get a fever, but it doesn't kill our healthy cells. The fever is there to kill the bad cells, the viruses, the bacteria, and so forth. So hyperthermia applied locally to the tumor area and systemically to the whole body is the key treatment in cancer therapy, because I believe, Jenny, that cancer very rarely is a localized disease. Cancer is a systemic disease, and we have to treat it systemically.
Amen.
So in addition to those, there's many other therapies. We use pulsating electromagnetic field therapy. We know that every cell has an electrical charge. And what's interesting is that the protein structure, proteins are key for almost every function in our body. So the protein structure is dependent on the charge of the protein. And we could change that charge with electromagnetic fields. We could good and unhealthy electromagnetic fields, unfortunately, like microwaves and cell phones and so forth. But also, Jenny, we could change a protein structure because it's a charge that gives it that structure with emotions and thoughts. So we call this recall healing when we're working on the conflicts, the traumas that you have had and that are key to the formation of cancer. Cancer is not a haphazard or bad luck type of scenario. Cancer cells have a lot of information, they're recruiting other cells, and the emotional component is super important in the development of cancer and also in the effective treatment of cancer.
Right. Wow. You have got you've got a wonderful program put down over there, and people can also, from either location, they can take a few blocks, or I think your Cancun office clinic is closer to the beach, but you can actually walk on the beach and barefooted and ground and let those electrons transfer and just take that healing even a little bit further.
That's right. And I just got back from Cancun last night, and I could tell you what a healing area. I mean, with the sun, as you say, the beach, the relaxation, the happiness. We call them happiness factors, right?
Right.
No matter what situation you're in, what are your happiness factors? Is it just waking up in the morning and seeing the sun come up? Is it at night watching the moon? Or, find your happiness factors, because no matter what situation you're in and, what was told to you by your doctors, look at the happiness factors, and every day, remember, the morning will come, and live every day, one day at a time.
Right. So, Dr. Tony, you've treated over 35,000 terminally ill patients over the years. Can you just share with us a couple of successes that might just build someone's faith and encourage them?
Oh, yes. And that's what keeps us going, because as you said earlier, Jenny, this is not easy work. There's a lot of obstacles against us, but the success stories, the patients that are endeared with good health and quality of life. We have a patient with pancreatic cancer. As you know, this is, by conventional means, a death sentence, especially when it has metastasized to the liver. And her name, we'll call her Sue.
Okay.
She's from California, doing exceptionally well after almost 4 years. No liver mets. The 2 suspicious spots in the lungs are clear, and she just had an MRI about 3 months ago. So Sue is an example that never, ever, even for physicians and practitioners watching Cancer University, never, ever give up on a patient. Never, ever give up on a patient.
Right.
As you see, and if you have Christ in your heart and you're spiritually sound, miracles happen. Because oftentimes, Jenny, almost always, I don't give myself the credit. I give credit to the Lord, right? And so that's just one success story. Patients with stage 4 bladder cancer, prostate cancer. We have another one in California also that had ovarian cancer. She's a practitioner herself. She's probably about 5 years now cancer-free. And what we did at Hope for Cancer, interestingly, Jenny, in the last few months is we put together a success story, and I kid you not, the binder is about this big. I don't think it fits on the screen, but anyway.
Wow, it's awesome.
It's just awesome, and that's what makes all this worth it, as you can share, right?
Right. So how can people learn more? How can they contact you?
Well, first of all, I would like to give the viewers a free gift, and we have a free video book that I would like all the viewers to have access for. So they could text the number 587-317-6099 and text HOPE, FOR, cancer, HOPE for cancer. And if they text that name and that number, we'll deliver a free video book that's on the 7 key principles for integrative healing and prevention of cancer. Okay, so this is our gift to all the viewers, and we're so happy that this can empower you and, as you said, not go into that fear mode. But our website, Jenny, is www.hope, and here we use the number 4, hope,
okay.
4cancer.com.
Very good. Dr. Tony, thank you for what you're doing. And you're every time I see you on Facebook, you're in another part of the country. So anyway, you are definitely doing your part to share information and to educate and to, in the end, offer people hope and healing. So I thank you so very much.
Well, thank you, Jenny, and thank you for all you've done too in your book. And I just wish you plenty of blessings and continued success. And at Hope for Cancer, we don't stop. We're continuing to work every day, and there's 3 new therapies that we're working on to integrate in what we're doing, so the future is looking better and better every day.
Very good. So we have new things coming down the pike at Hope for Cancer in the future.
That's for sure. We're working with major universities in the U.S. and top scientists, so this is exciting times.
Very good. Thank you so much. And for this edition of Cancer Free University, I'm Jenny Herbachik, and I'm wishing you abundant health. Bye-bye.